The night was peaceful in Green Valley Hospital. The air was cool and still, and the moonlight shone through the wide glass windows that lined the corridors. Only the steady sound of machines and the faint footsteps of nurses filled the silence. The hospital staff was used to quiet nights, but this night was going to be different. Something strange was about to happen, something that would stay in their memories forever. At the security gate, Amir, the night guard, sat in his small booth watching the cameras. He was drinking tea and trying to stay awake when the motion alarm suddenly blinked red. He leaned forward, confused. The camera showed movement at the front gate. Amir straightened in his chair and focused on the screen. A dog stood there looking straight at the camera. It was a large German shepherd with brown and black fur and sharp, alert eyes. His fur was dusty, and he looked tired, but his gaze was calm and firm. Amir frowned and muttered, "How did a dog get inside the hospital grounds?" The gates were always closed at night. He checked the monitors again and saw that the lock was still secure. Somehow the dog had managed to pass through the gate without anyone noticing. Amir grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside to see for himself. When he reached the gate, the dog was standing there, wagging his tail slightly. Amir spoke softly, "Hey there, boy, how did you get in here?" The dog did not bark or back away. Instead, he walked slowly toward the main building. His movements were smooth, like he knew exactly where he wanted to go. Amir followed, unsure whether to stop him or call someone for help. He tried to block the path once, but the dog gently moved around him and continued walking. Inside the hospital, Nurse Maria was checking medicine trays when she heard a strange sound. It was the sound of claws tapping on the polished floor. She looked down the hallway and froze. A large German shepherd was walking toward her. His ears were straight, his eyes focused, and he seemed completely calm. Maria quickly set the tray aside and stepped forward. "Hey, how did you get in here?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. The dog ignored her. He sniffed the air and turned toward the east corridor, which led to the patient rooms. Maria called for help. "Amir, there's a dog inside the hospital." Amir came running behind, out of breath, flashlight in hand. "I tried to stop him, but he just walked in," he said. The dog walked with purpose. He did not wander or bark. He followed a scent, a path only he seemed to know. He reached the elevator area and sat down, looking at the closed doors. When Maria pressed the button, the dog entered calmly and sat in the corner as if he had been in an elevator many times before. Amir and Maria exchanged puzzled looks. The elevator opened on the third floor, the floor where the intensive care unit was located. The dog stepped out and walked down the long hallway. Nurses and a few doctors noticed him, whispering in surprise. "Where did he come from?" one asked. "Who brought a dog in here?" said another. No one had an answer. The dog walked straight to room 308 and stopped. Inside the room was a young girl named Alina. She had been lying in a coma for 2 months after a car accident. She was only 15. Her parents came every day, sitting beside her bed, holding her hand, hoping that one day she would wake up. The doctors had said there was little chance. Alina's condition was stable but unchanging. The German shepherd pushed the door open with his nose and quietly entered. The nurses followed but stopped at the doorway. The dog walked to the side of Alina's bed and sat down. He looked at her face, then gently rested his head near her arm. The room became very quiet. The only sound was the soft beeping of the heart monitor. Nurse Maria whispered, "It's like he knows her." Dr. Kamal, the night doctor, entered the room after hearing the commotion. "What is going on here?" he asked. Amir pointed to the dog. "He came inside on his own. He found this room. He won't leave." The doctor stepped closer and watched the animal. The German shepherd did not seem scared. His eyes were fixed on Alina. Dr. Kamal checked the patient chart. "Her name is Alina, age 15, coma for 61 days, he read quietly. Then he looked at the dog again. "Does anyone know who he belongs to?" Everyone shook their heads. When Dr. Kamal tried to move the dog out of the room, the animal let out a low growl. It was not an angry sound, but a warning. The doctor stopped and sighed. "All right, we will let him stay for tonight, but keep an eye on him," he said. Maria nodded and placed a folded blanket near the bed for the dog to lie on. The animal looked thankful, curled up on the blanket and stayed still. As the night continued, the hospital became silent again. The dog did not sleep. He stayed awake, watching Alina's face. Sometimes he would lift his head, sniff the air, and then gently place his paw on the edge of her bed. The nurses passing by the glass window whispered about it. It's like he's guarding her, one said. Another replied, maybe he's an old pet. Maybe he remembers her. Around midnight, something unexpected happened. The heart monitor beside Alina's bed began to change. The line that had stayed steady for weeks started to move with stronger pulses. The sound of the machine became clearer and faster. Nurse Maria, who was doing rounds, noticed the change and rushed into the room. She looked at the screen, then at the dog. The German Shepherd had lifted his head and was staring directly at Alina. His tail wagged once slowly. Maria called for Dr. Kamal. He came running with Amir. "What happened?" he asked. Maria pointed to the monitor. "Look at this." Her heartbeat is stronger. The doctor checked the readings and blinked in disbelief. "That's impossible. There hasn't been any improvement in weeks." The dog stood up and placed his front paws gently on the bed, his head near Alina's hand. Her fingers twitched slightly. The movement was faint, but everyone saw it. Dr. Kamal stared in silence. "Did you see that?" he said. Maria nodded, speechless. The dog looked calm, as if he knew this was going to happen. He stepped back and sat down again. The doctor checked the machines, but everything seemed fine. "This can't be just a coincidence," he whispered. When the morning came, the story spread quickly through the hospital. Doctors and nurses who had not been on duty heard about the dog that broke into the hospital and went straight to a girl in a coma. They heard how the machines showed improvement for the first time since her accident. Some thought it was luck, others said it was science, but a few believed it was something more. The German Shepherd was still there, sitting beside Alina's bed. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything all night, yet he looked strong, his eyes bright and full of quiet strength. Visitors passing by stopped to watch him through the window. Many whispered prayers. Even those who didn't believe in miracles started to feel that something special was happening. Dr. Kamal spoke with the hospital director, explaining everything. The director listened carefully and said, "Keep the dog here for now. Until we know more, he stays. Sometimes life brings strange things we cannot explain." The staff agreed. They named the German Shepherd Shadow, because he followed Alina's presence like a shadow, never leaving her side. That morning, Alina's parents arrived and were shocked to see the animal beside their daughter. "Whose dog is this?" her mother asked. When she saw the gentle way he looked at Alina, her eyes filled with tears. "He looks like he's protecting her," she whispered. Her father nodded, unable to speak. The dog turned his head toward them and gave a soft, friendly look, then returned his gaze to the sleeping girl. No one knew where he came from or how he found her, but everyone in the hospital felt the same thing. This was no ordinary dog. Something mysterious had begun in room 308, and it was only the beginning. The morning sun touched the white walls of Green Valley Hospital. Birds sang outside, and the smell of fresh air entered through the open windows. Inside room 308, the mysterious German Shepherd named Shadow was still sitting beside Alina's bed. His head rested on his paws, and his eyes followed every small movement she made. The night had been long, but he had not slept. He stayed awake like a guardian. Nurse Maria entered quietly with a tray of medicine. When she saw the dog still there, she smiled. "You are still watching her," she said softly. Shadow lifted his head and wagged his tail once. Maria checked Alina's machines. The readings were better than before. Her pulse was stronger and her breathing was smooth. Maria looked surprised and called Dr. Kamal to come at once. Dr. Kamal arrived with his stethoscope. He examined Alina carefully. Her body was warmer and her heartbeat was steady. He turned to Maria and said, "Her condition has improved again. This is very unusual. The medicines are the same. Nothing new was given." He looked at Shadow, who was watching quietly. "It started when he came," Dr. Kamal said thoughtfully. Maria nodded. "It feels like he brought something with him, something we can't explain." A few minutes later, Alina's parents arrived. Her mother carried flowers, and her father had a small notebook where he wrote every update about their daughter. When they entered, they saw the German Shepherd beside the bed. Alina's mother smiled gently. "Good morning, Shadow," she said. The dog wagged his tail again. He seemed to recognize her kindness. Dr. Kamal explained the situation. "She is showing improvement for the second time. Her brain activity is slightly higher today." Alina's parents were surprised and overjoyed. "That is wonderful news, doctor." "Thank you," her father said, but Dr. Kamal shook his head. "I don't know if it is our medicine or something else. This dog may have something to do with it." The parents looked at Shadow with curiosity. He stood and placed his paw gently on the edge of Alina's bed, looking at her face with deep concern. Her mother placed her hand over the dog's head and whispered, "Thank you." Tears filled her eyes. She felt comfort she had not felt in months. Later that day, many people from the hospital came to see room 308. Even patients who could walk visited, curious to see the dog that had entered mysteriously and seemed to help a girl recover. Some brought biscuits and meat for him, but Shadow did not eat. He only drank a little water and returned to Alina's side each time. By afternoon, the hospital director, Mr. Abbas, came to see what everyone was talking about. He was an older man with kind eyes but a serious face. When he saw the dog, he said, "So this is the hero of the night." He studied the scene carefully. "We will allow him to stay for now, but we must keep things safe. Make sure no one disturbs the patients," he told the staff. Shadow continued to sit quietly as nurses came and went. His calm behavior surprised everyone. He never barked, never jumped, and never caused trouble. He seemed to understand that he was in a hospital and that silence was important. Dr. Kamal noticed something else. Every time someone entered the room, the dog's eyes would follow them, but he only relaxed when they left peacefully. It was as if he knew his job was to protect the girl. At lunchtime, a young nurse named Sana entered to clean the room. She talked to the dog softly. "You really like her, don't you?" she said. As she spoke, Alina's fingers moved slightly again. It was a small motion, but Sana saw it. "Doctor, come quickly," she called out. Dr. Kamal hurried in and checked Alina's hands. Her fingers twitched again, this time more clearly. The doctor leaned closer and said, "Alina, can you hear me?" There was no answer, but her eyelids fluttered for a second. The whole room filled with quiet excitement. "This is progress," Dr. Kamal said. "It might be the first step." Shadow wagged his tail and let out a soft sound like a low breath. Everyone could see his happiness. It was as if he knew exactly what was happening. That evening, as the sky turned orange and gold, Alina's father stayed in the room with his wife. They sat on either side of the bed. Shadow stayed at the foot of the bed, watching the girl and occasionally glancing at the parents. "He is like an angel," Alina's mother whispered. "Maybe God sent him," her husband nodded. "Maybe he came because she needed someone to bring her back." In the hospital hallway, people continued to talk about the strange visitor. Some staff members thought it was just luck that Alina was improving. Others believed something more was at work. "Animals can feel things humans can't," said one of the nurses. "Maybe he sensed her spirit and came to help." Late at night, the corridors were quiet again. Dr. Kamal stayed to observe Alina's condition. He sat in the corner of the room writing notes while the soft sound of machines filled the air. Shadow stood and walked closer to the bed. He placed his head gently near Alina's hand again. The doctor watched him carefully. A few moments later, the monitor showed another small rise in brain activity. Dr. Kamal leaned forward, amazed. "Every time he touches her, the readings change," he said to himself. He took a deep breath. There must be some link, something real between them. He decided to run a few silent tests to record the data. But deep inside, he felt that science might not be enough to explain this. Outside the hospital, the night sky was full of stars. The city lights were distant and the air was calm. Inside room 308, the dog finally closed his eyes for the first time. He slept peacefully beside Alina, his body close to her bed. His breathing matched hers, slow and steady, as if they shared the same rhythm. At dawn, Nurse Maria came in for her morning shift. She stopped at the door, her eyes wide. "Doctor, come here," she called. Dr. Kamal hurried in. Alina's eyes were moving under her eyelids and her lips parted slightly. The dog lifted his head and looked at her face. Everyone held their breath. Her hand moved again, this time stronger. Her mother, who had fallen asleep on the chair, woke up and gasped. "Alina," she said, "can you hear me?" The girl's lips moved faintly. The sound was weak, but a soft breath escaped her mouth. The heart monitor began to beat faster. The doctor rushed to the side of the bed. "She is responding," he said, his voice full of joy. He looked at the dog. "Shadow, whatever you are doing, keep doing it." The dog wagged his tail and stood proudly. He looked at the people around him and then back at Alina. Her eyelids fluttered again, and for a brief moment her eyes opened a little. Her mother cried out in happiness, covering her mouth with her hands. She opened her eyes. "She is waking up. Tears ran down her cheeks. The doctor smiled for the first time in weeks. "This is a miracle," he said. The staff gathered outside the room, whispering in awe. "The girl in the coma is waking up. The dog did it." Word spread fast through the hospital and even reached local reporters by morning. People began to call the dog a guardian angel. As the sun rose, Shadow sat quietly watching Alina. His ears were up, his eyes calm and bright. The warm light touched his fur, making him look almost golden. The room filled with hope and warmth. Alina's eyes opened a little wider and she whispered a sound that no one could clearly hear. Her mother leaned close and whispered, "We are here, my child. You are safe." Shadow looked at her one last time before lying down again. He seemed content, as if his mission was working. Everyone in the hospital knew something extraordinary was happening. The mysterious German Shepherd had done the impossible once, and it seemed he was not done yet. The morning sun filled room 308 with soft golden light. Alina's eyes were half open and her breathing was steady. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand with tears in her eyes. Her father stood near the window, whispering a prayer of thanks. Dr. Kamal entered with Nurse Maria, smiling as he saw the readings on the monitor. "Her brain activity is normal," he said. "She is waking up slowly, but it is real. This is no coincidence." Shadow sat near the bed, calm and alert. His eyes stayed fixed on Alina, as if he feared she might slip away again. The doctors had already agreed not to move him or disturb him. Everyone now believed the dog was connected to this miracle. Alina's mother spoke softly. "Good morning, my brave girl. You are safe now." Alina blinked a few times and turned her head slightly. Her lips parted and a faint sound came out. It was weak but clear enough for everyone to hear. "Mama." The word was soft like a whisper, but it filled the room with joy. Her mother began to cry again, covering her face with her hands. She spoke. "She spoke to me," she said in disbelief. Dr. Kamal leaned closer. "Alina, can you hear me? You are in the hospital. You have been asleep for some time. You are safe." Alina looked confused, but she nodded slowly. The doctor smiled warmly. "That is enough for now. Do not push yourself." Shadow wagged his tail once and gave a soft bark as if celebrating her first words. The sound made Alina turn her eyes toward him. She stared at the dog for a long moment, her lips trembling. "Dog," she said weakly. Everyone in the room looked at each other in surprise. Dr. Kamal said, "You know this dog?" She shook her head slightly. "No," she whispered. "But I saw him. In a dream." Her mother frowned gently. "A dream?" Alina nodded again. "He was running through the forest. He found me and showed me a way out of darkness." The room became silent. The doctor looked at Shadow. The dog was still, his eyes shining softly in the morning light. No one spoke for a few seconds. Then Dr. Kamal said quietly, "This is more than science." Later that day, the news spread through the hospital. A girl who had been in a coma for 2 months was awake, and a mysterious German Shepherd had been beside her through the night. The story spread quickly among the staff and then reached the local newspaper. A reporter arrived at noon to verify the story. The hospital tried to keep things private, but the story was too incredible to hide. Outside the hospital, people began to gather. Some brought flowers for Alina. Others came just to see the dog. They waited near the main gate, hoping to catch a glimpse of the animal that everyone called the miracle dog. The hospital security had to control the crowd, but no one wanted to cause trouble. They only wanted to see the dog that had done something no human could explain. Inside, Dr. Kamal examined Alina again. Her condition continued to improve. She could move her fingers and turn her head easily. Her voice was still weak, but she could speak short sentences. "Mama, where is the dog?" she asked again. Her mother smiled and pointed. "He is right here watching you." Shadow raised his head and looked at her. His eyes were calm and full of kindness. Alina smiled faintly for the first time since her accident. Dr. Kamal stayed quiet for a while, then said, "We should test her memory later. For now, let her rest." The doctor turned to Amir, the guard who had first seen the dog. "Can you check again how he entered the hospital that night?" Amir nodded and went to review the security footage. He spent hours watching the recordings. When he returned, he looked even more puzzled. "Sir, the cameras did not capture him coming through the gate. One moment the yard was empty and the next moment he was there." Dr. Kamal frowned. "That is impossible. There must be a blind spot in the camera." Amir shook his head. "No, sir. The whole area was covered. It is like he appeared out of nowhere. The doctor leaned back in his chair thinking deeply. First the girl wakes up, now this. There is something mysterious about him. That evening, Alina was able to sit up with support. Her mother brushed her hair gently while Shadow lay near her feet. The girl reached down and touched his head. "Thank you," she whispered. The dog closed his eyes as if he understood. Her father smiled. "Maybe he really came for you, Alina." The girl looked at him with sleepy eyes. Maybe he did. Outside the room, people were still talking about the miracle. Some nurses believed Shadow had a special sense or power. Others said it was just a coincidence and the girl was healing because of medicine and care. But everyone agreed that the dog had done something remarkable. Even the hospital director, Mr. Abbas, visited again that evening. He stood quietly in the doorway watching Alina and the dog. Then he said to Dr. Kamal, "Whatever the reason, this hospital has witnessed a true miracle." Night came again, calm and quiet. The moonlight fell softly through the windows. Alina slept peacefully, her heartbeat normal. Shadow stayed near her bed as always. Nurse Maria stayed to watch over them. She noticed how peaceful the room felt. The machines sounded softer, and the air seemed warm and full of comfort. She whispered to herself, "It feels like hope is living here tonight." Around midnight, Shadow suddenly lifted his head. His ears pointed toward the door and he stared into the hallway. Maria looked up from her chair. "What is it, boy?" she asked. The dog stood up and walked to the door. He looked back once, then walked quietly into the hallway. Maria followed him. The hospital was silent, the lights dim. Shadow walked straight toward the children's ward. He stopped outside room 214, where a young boy named Rafi was fighting a serious illness. His condition had worsened that day and the doctors were worried. Shadow pushed the door open and entered. Maria whispered, "Not again." But something told her not to stop him. The dog went to the boy's bed and sat beside it, just like he had done with Alina. He placed his head near the boy's hand and closed his eyes. Maria ran to call Dr. Kamal. "Doctor, the dog is in room 214 now," she said quickly. He left Alina's room and went straight there. Dr. Kamal followed her immediately. When they reached the room, they saw Shadow sitting quietly beside Rafi's bed. The machines showed stable readings. "His heart rate is improving," Maria said. Dr. Kamal looked at the dog and shook his head. "This cannot be explained." By morning, Rafi's condition had improved. The nurses were amazed. "The same thing is happening again," one said. "Wherever he goes, people heal." The story spread faster this time. More people gathered outside the hospital. The local news channel sent a team to report. They called Shadow the miracle dog of Green Valley. Inside the hospital, Shadow returned to Alina's room after checking on Rafi. He lay down beside her bed again, calm as ever. Dr. Kamal stood at the doorway, watching him with deep respect. "You are not an ordinary dog," he said quietly. "You came for a reason." The day passed with joy and wonder. Alina was awake and smiling. Rafi was recovering and the hospital was filled with hope. Even the sickest patients felt comforted by knowing Shadow was there. The nurses noticed that the wards felt warmer and calmer whenever he walked through the halls. The patients would smile and reach out to touch him. At sunset, the crowd outside clapped as they saw the dog through the hospital window. They waved and cheered. Amir smiled and said, "He has become a hero." The hospital director nodded. "Yes, but heroes always come for a reason. I think his work here is not finished." As night fell again, the stars shone brightly above Green Valley Hospital. Inside room 308, Alina slept peacefully. Shadow lay beside her bed, his head resting on his paws. He looked calm but watchful, as if he was waiting for something more to come. The air was full of quiet strength and unspoken mystery. The miracle that began with one girl was now spreading, and no one could tell how far it would reach. The next morning in Green Valley Hospital, the sunlight filled every corridor with warmth. The staff moved quietly, but their faces showed excitement. Alina had slept peacefully through the night, and Shadow was still lying beside her bed, calm and alert. Her mother sat next to her, brushing her hair gently. Alina's father was checking her charts again, making sure everything was normal. Even the small monitors showed better readings than ever. The miracle that had begun days before seemed to continue. Nurse Maria came into the room with breakfast. She placed a tray near Alina's bed. "Good morning, Alina," she said softly. "Would you like to eat something?" Alina looked at her mother and then at Shadow. She smiled faintly and whispered, "Maybe a little." Shadow moved his head slightly, almost as if he understood that she was waking fully now. Maria set a small cup of soup beside her and helped her sit up carefully. Dr. Kamal entered the room just as Alina took her first sip of the warm soup. He checked the monitor readings and smiled. "Her vitals are perfect this morning," he said. "It is amazing. Every day she grows stronger. The improvement is faster than expected." Alina's mother looked at him with hope. "Doctor, do you think she can leave the coma completely soon?" Dr. Kamal nodded cautiously. "She is on the right path. I'm amazed at her progress." Meanwhile, outside room 308, the hospital staff and visitors were whispering about the mysterious dog. Shadow had become the talk of the town. People came not just to see Alina, but also to see him. Children waved and called out, "Hello, doggy." Shadow only watched them quietly. His focus remained on Alina. He was calm, alert, and protective. His presence brought peace to everyone in the room. During mid-morning rounds, Dr. Kamal noticed something unusual. The security cameras in the hallway had recorded the dog for the previous night. When they reviewed the footage, they saw Shadow moving through the hospital silently, stopping at Rafi's room and then returning to Alina. It was clear that he was not just wandering randomly. He went straight to patients who were struggling and stayed close to them. Dr. Kamal could not explain the behavior. "He seems to know who needs help," he said. "It is as if he can sense what is wrong and where he is needed." Alina's eyes followed the movements of Shadow. She whispered softly, "I remember him from somewhere." Her mother leaned closer. "Where do you remember him from, my child?" Alina paused and said, "In my dreams he guided me. He appeared when I was lost." Her father looked at Shadow, then at Alina and said, "Could he have come for you because he knew you needed him?" Alina nodded faintly. The dog's eyes met hers, calm and understanding. There was a connection that no one could explain. By noon, the hospital director, Mr. Abbas, decided to hold a small meeting with the staff. He wanted to discuss how to handle the situation with the dog. He entered the conference room where Dr. Kamal, Nurse Maria, and Amir were waiting. "This dog is extraordinary," he said. "He is helping patients in ways we cannot explain. We must make sure he is safe and the patients are safe, but we must also respect the effect he has on everyone." Amir spoke up. "Sir, he entered the hospital without anyone seeing him. He knows the rooms, the patients, and even the exact places to sit. I have never seen a dog behave like this." Dr. Kamal nodded. "It is more than behavior. There is intelligence, focus, and something beyond our understanding. We should not disturb him. Let him stay with Alina for now." The director agreed, but he added, "We will have the animal care team check on him later. For now, we observe." During the afternoon, Alina was able to move more freely. She stretched her arms and legs while Shadow stayed by her side. Every time she tried to move, he nudged her gently, like encouraging her. Her mother watched with tears in her eyes. "It is as if he knows exactly what she needs," she whispered. Alina nodded, smiling faintly. "I feel strong when he is near," she said. Her voice was still soft, but it carried hope and confidence. Later that day, Dr. Kamal received a call from a neurologist friend in another city. He explained Alina's case and how the dog seemed to help her recover. The neurologist was amazed. "I have never heard of anything like this," he said. "There may be an unknown connection between humans and animals that we do not understand yet. This dog may be able to trigger certain responses in the brain." Dr. Kamal nodded. "It seems so. Every time Shadow is near her, her condition improves." He looked at the dog, lying quietly near Alina's bed, calm and attentive. There is something special about him. As evening approached, Alina's father suggested taking some photos of Alina with Shadow. They wanted to capture this moment to remember how the dog had helped his daughter. When the camera clicked, Shadow looked directly into the lens, and for a moment his eyes seemed to shine with understanding. Alina smiled faintly, her eyes full of trust. The connection between them was clear. Shadow was not just an ordinary dog. He was her guardian, her companion, and somehow her healer. Night arrived again, and the hospital became quiet. The corridors were empty except for a few nurses on duty. Alina was able to sit up and talk softly to her parents. "I can hear everything now," she said. "I feel the people around me. I feel Shadow too." Her mother held her hand. "You are safe, my child. You are awake now. We are so proud of you." Shadow lay near her feet, watching her closely. Every sound, every movement, every breath seemed important to him. Around midnight, something remarkable happened. Alina suddenly turned her head toward Shadow and whispered, "Why did you come to me?" Shadow tilted his head slightly as if listening. He then nudged her hand gently with his nose. Alina's eyes filled with wonder. "You saved me," she whispered. Her mother and father were astonished. No one had expected the girl to recognize the dog in such a way. Dr. Kamal, who had been observing quietly, noted that her brain activity showed a significant increase. "This is extraordinary," he said. "Her responses are improving faster than ever." Shadow stayed beside Alina throughout the night, never leaving her side. The monitors recorded her vitals steadily improving. It seemed as if his presence alone brought comfort, strength, and a sense of safety. Even the nurses who observed from the door agreed that there was something magical about the bond between the dog and the girl. By morning, Alina was able to speak more clearly. She asked her mother, "Will he stay with me?" Her mother smiled. "Yes, he will. He is your guardian, my child." Shadow wagged his tail gently in response to her words. The day began with hope, peace, and the feeling that something extraordinary was happening in Green Valley Hospital. Outside the hospital, the story of the mysterious German Shepherd had spread further. People from nearby towns heard about the dog that had entered the hospital, found a girl in a coma, and seemed to bring her back to life. Some came to visit Alina, while others brought gifts for Shadow. The hospital managed the visitors carefully, but everyone was curious. Shadow remained calm, observing each visitor without fuss. He stayed focused only on Alina, ignoring distractions. That evening, Dr. Kamal called the neurologist friend again. "It is happening faster than I expected," he said. "Her responses are improving every day. Shadow seems to be the reason." The neurologist replied, "Sometimes animals can sense emotions and needs better than humans. Maybe he triggered a reaction in her brain that medicine alone could not do." Dr. Kamal nodded. "I have never seen anything like it." As the sun set, Alina's parents sat beside her bed. She was able to sit upright without support now. Shadow rested his head gently on the edge of the bed. The room was filled with warmth, peace, and a sense of quiet joy. Everyone in the hospital felt it. The miracle was still happening, and the bond between the girl and the dog grew stronger with every passing hour. The night passed quietly. With Shadow always near Alina, the hospital staff whispered about the incredible events. They spoke about the courage, hope, and mystery that the dog had brought into their lives. Shadow was no longer just a visitor. He had become a symbol of hope, strength, and love. Everyone agreed that what they were witnessing was more than they could explain with words. Alina's journey of recovery continued, and with Shadow by her side, everyone knew that something extraordinary had begun. The morning light of Green Valley Hospital filled room 308 with soft golden warmth. Alina had been awake for a few hours, and her progress amazed everyone. She could sit up without help, move her arms and legs freely, and even speak in short sentences. Shadow sat quietly beside her bed, calm and alert. His eyes followed her every move, and his presence seemed to give her strength and courage. Alina's mother gently brushed her hair while whispering, "You are doing so well, my child." Alina smiled faintly and replied, "I feel strong when he is near me." Her father, who had been taking careful notes of her recovery, nodded with pride. "It is incredible. Every day she grows stronger." Shadow lifted his head at her words and wagged his tail once. It was a small gesture, but it carried a sense of understanding and encouragement. Throughout the morning, the hospital staff visited the room quietly. They were amazed at how much Alina had improved. Nurses whispered to each other about the dog's presence. "He is like a guardian angel," said one nurse. "Whenever he is here, the patients seem to get stronger," said another. Dr. Kamal observed quietly from the corner. He had watched Alina for weeks, and he could not explain what was happening. Her recovery was faster than any case he had ever seen. By noon, Alina was able to speak in complete sentences. "Mama, I want to walk," she said softly. Her mother and father looked at each other, surprised but hopeful. Dr. Kamal smiled. "It will take time, but with care and support you can try." They helped her slowly stand up while Shadow stayed by her side. The dog followed her movements closely, nudging her gently if she lost balance. It was as if he knew exactly how to guide her. Later that afternoon, the hospital director, Mr. Abbas, visited room 308. He looked at Alina and then at Shadow. "This is extraordinary," he said. Your recovery is faster than we imagined. And this dog, he is remarkable. Alina's father nodded. We don't know where he came from, but he has changed our lives. Shadow looked at the director with calm eyes, and the room seemed to feel peaceful and safe in his presence. Word of the miraculous recovery spread beyond the hospital. People from nearby towns arrived to see the girl and the dog. The hospital allowed only a few visitors at a time. Each visitor who met Shadow noticed how calm and gentle he was. Even the most nervous children relaxed when he sat beside them. Alina would smile and wave to the visitors, often petting Shadow gently. One afternoon, Dr. Kamal decided to test Alina's memory. Alina, can you tell me what happened before your accident? He asked. She thought for a moment and then replied, I was walking home from school. I remember the car, the crash, and then darkness. And then I saw him. She looked at Shadow. He was running through the forest and came to me. He brought me here. Her parents were amazed. You remember him? Her mother asked. Alina nodded. Yes, I saw him in my dreams. He guided me when I was lost. Shadow raised his head and wagged his tail slightly. It was a gesture full of pride and care. Dr. Kamal studied the monitor readings again. Her brain activity had improved significantly. Her responses were clear and strong. He whispered to himself, This dog is truly remarkable. By evening, Alina was able to stand and take a few steps with support. Shadow walked beside her, sometimes nudging her gently, sometimes simply following her movements. Her parents encouraged her, and the nurses watched closely. The small room was filled with hope, joy, and quiet excitement. For weeks, the hospital had felt tense and uncertain, but now the atmosphere was full of life and happiness. That night, Alina sat on her bed with her parents beside her. Shadow lay at her feet, alert and calm. The moonlight shone through the window, casting a gentle glow across the room. I want to thank him, Alina said softly. She reached down and petted Shadow's head gently. The dog closed his eyes, resting his head on her hand. It was a peaceful and tender moment. Her mother whispered, He saved you, my child. He brought you back. The following morning, Dr. Kamal checked her vitals. Everything was normal. Her pulse, her breathing, her movement, and her responses were all steady and strong. Alina, you are fully awake now, he said with a smile. Your progress is complete. Alina's parents hugged her tightly. Tears of joy filled their eyes. Shadow wagged his tail and gave a soft, gentle bark, almost as if celebrating with them. The hospital staff gathered to witness this final stage of her recovery. Nurses, doctors, and even the janitorial staff quietly entered room 308 to congratulate Alina and observe Shadow. Everyone was amazed at what they had witnessed over the past days. The miraculous connection between the girl and the dog had changed the hospital. The air felt lighter, calmer, and filled with hope. Later that day, Mr. Abbas, the hospital director, called a small meeting. What happened in this hospital is extraordinary, he said. We cannot explain it, but we must respect the miracle we have seen. Shadow has played a role in a recovery we never thought possible. He looked at Dr. Kamal. We will ensure that both Alina and Shadow are safe and cared for. This story is remarkable and should be remembered. Meanwhile, Alina's parents made plans to keep Shadow close. He is part of our family now, her father said. He saved our daughter and we will care for him forever. Alina smiled brightly. Yes, I want him with me always, she said. Shadow wagged his tail again and rested his head near her hand. His eyes were calm and full of love. The news about Shadow spread quickly beyond the town. People called him the miracle dog. Visitors came from far and wide to see the dog who had helped a girl wake from a coma. Doctors and scientists were fascinated. Many tried to study him, but Shadow remained calm and gentle, never showing anything but kindness and focus. He seemed to understand his purpose perfectly. Weeks passed and Alina continued to recover fully. She was able to walk without support, speak clearly, and even laugh. Shadow remained by her side, always calm, always alert. The hospital was peaceful, filled with stories of hope and joy. Visitors came to meet Shadow, and patients who were sick felt comforted just by seeing him. One quiet evening, Alina's mother sat beside her daughter on the bed. Do you remember the first night he came? She asked. Alina nodded. Yes, I felt safe the moment he was near. I felt like I could breathe again. Her father smiled. It is amazing how he knew exactly what you needed. Shadow lifted his head and gave a soft, gentle bark, almost like he agreed with their words. Dr. Kamal visited one last time before leaving for the night. He looked at Shadow and said, "You have done something extraordinary. You have given hope, courage, and life." The dog looked at him with calm eyes, then returned to Alina's side. It was clear that his mission was complete. Alina was awake, healthy, and full of life. By the end of the week, Alina was ready to leave the hospital. Her parents carried her belongings, and Shadow walked beside her, calm and proud. The hospital staff gathered at the entrance to say goodbye. "You are amazing, Shadow," Nurse Maria said softly. "Thank you for everything." The dog wagged his tail once, then sat quietly beside Alina. As they walked out of the hospital, Alina held Shadow's leash gently. She looked at him and whispered, "Thank you for saving me. You are my hero." Shadow looked at her, calm and gentle, then walked steadily beside her. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, the sky was clear, and the town seemed peaceful. The miracle had completed, and a new chapter of hope had begun for Alina and everyone who had witnessed it. Shadow had come mysteriously, done the impossible, and left a mark on everyone's heart. He was no ordinary dog. He was a guardian, a friend, and a true miracle. Alina knew she would never forget him, and neither would anyone in Green Valley. The girl and the dog walked home together side by side, ready to face life with hope, courage, and love. Their bond had changed both of them forever, and the story of the mysterious German Shepherd would live on in hearts and minds for many years to come.